Yo, what's happening everybody? King GBL here, and welcome back to a brand new Go video. Today we're going to be showcasing the newly buffed Alolan Sandslash. We're using the Shadow here, and unfortunately the Shadow I've got here is on 1479 CP. It's an Ultra League version that I'm going to power up eventually. The IVs look good, but unfortunately it's not turning out that well. Now in this first match, it's an interesting one. They reach the Surf here after basically 7 Shadow Claws. So we do outpace to the Drill Run, which we get in 6. They come in here with Latios, and we just absolutely wreck this thing. I probably could have just swapped straight out to Slurpuff, but yeah, as you can see, we've got Slurpuff and Noctowl in the back. We're just kind of messing around. And will the opponent respect the Flamethrower? No, they do not. That does more than half of their health, and this Stunfisk is an absolute mess. Now, this thing is actually a lot bulkier than you would think, because have a look at this Earthquake coming through. It doesn't even take us out. We're still comfortably surviving in the red, and we can get off probably 1 or 2 more moves. And the opponent lets that go, and back in comes Lantern. Now, Lantern is able to water gun down, unfortunately, and since we are a little bit behind in energy, we're going to come in with Noctowl and basically force the opponent to throw. Now, I'm thinking here this might be a little bit too soon for the Thunderbolt, and the opponent does go straight for a Surf. We're going to go for Shadow Balls. 1 Shadow Ball plus a Sky Attack will look to take out Lantern, so we will be able to hopefully force a shield off the opponent, which we do. I'm going to let the opponent throw off their move here, and then we're going to come in and look to close with Alolan Sandslash. Alolan Sandslash is looking amazing in this meta. Of course, it has the Ice Punch for Noctowl, it has the Drill Run here for Lantern, and it's such an amazing core breaker. Of course, it has Shadow Claws, which can do very well against ghost types. This Pokemon is just an amazing core breaker, and definitely one of my favorite updates from the season 14 update. Next game we have a Cryogonal, I don't even know how to pronounce his name, and in comes Togekiss. Togekiss, I think I've thrown bad timing here because of the swap in. I never am able to predict that correctly. But we go for Ice Punch number 1 here, and we'll swap out to Noctowl. Now the opponent has an Ice type in the front, so I'm happy enough to basically sacrifice Noctowl and look to get off some damage, some Sky Attacks, and actually get shields off the opponent. I'm happy to let this go. I'm predicting this will be the Community Day move of Aura Sphere, which it is, and the opponent will be able to farm down, but not before we get off. Okay, we don't get off the Sky Attack, never mind. We will, however, come in with Sandslash, look to fire off an Ice Punch after 1 in good timing, and we'll have a look and see what's in the back. So the opponent's going to come in with Delphox here, and this thing is just absolutely ripping through me. I've got 2 shields here, and you know what? I decided at this point, I'm just going to let it go. I should have just shielded, like, right? If I just shield this, I win, right? The opponent's going to farm me down here. I'm going to go for an Energy Ball, which is not going to take the opponent out, and that's going to be a good game. Obviously, I was just kind of trying to mess around and predict a Mystical Fire bait off the opponent, but the opponent did go for the Blast Burn there. So that's what you get for messing around. But in comes Mandibuzz, and in comes the Azumarill. What I'm going to look to do here is chip and dip this thing. 1 Energy Ball will not take this thing out. So I would like to get this into a range where Energy Ball will be taking out the Azu. Guys, before we go any further here, I want you to quickly just pause the video, hit that like button if you haven't done so already, let me know your thoughts and opinions on the new season, and of course subscribe to the channel, guys. We are getting super close, I think, to 1800 here. I do want to make a push for 2000 quite soon, so if you've been watching for a while, if you've enjoyed the video so far, please hit that like and subscribe, very much appreciated. So let's hop into this here again. We've got Ice Beam coming through. Now I kind of do need to take out this Azumarill, so I am willing to shield here and look to go for Energy Balls. The opponent is shielding, trying to make a play for switch here, but we are going to be able to reach the Energy Ball and maybe go for a slight overfarm and look to take out this Azumarill. We're going to overfarm just by 1 here. To be honest, I lost track on energy at this point. As you can see, it's quite dark in the background. These are some classic 6 AM battles here. In comes Victory Bell. I just aggro swap because we do technically have 2 answers for it. The opponent's a little bit slow on the swap back in, and we're going to go ahead and look to fire off a Sky Attack. The last thing I want to happen is Victory Bell to get ahead on energy, you know, get the farm down, get ahead on energy, and look to go for like Acid Sprays and look to go for Leaf Blades on Sandslash, which even though resisted would do a decent amount of damage. And of course, I know that Noctowl can take Mandibuzz, absolutely no problem here, so we're going to go ahead and fire off multiple Sky Attacks, and basically look to take out the Victory Bell here. So back in comes the Victory Bell. They're going to farm all the way down, or so I thought, because they do decide to throw a move just before we get to the Sky Attack. They actually CMP on the Sky Attack. And this puts us in a very, very good position here. We can come in with Sandslash, fire off an Ice Punch, and that is going to be good night to Victory Bell. Guys, I really enjoyed using this Pokemon here today. The thinking behind this team here, you can run this one of 2 ways, right? You can run this in the back with maybe like another Steel type, and just have something in the front which beats, you know, like Medicham pretty much. Medicham and Machamp are going to be quite powerful this season, so if you're running this Pokemon, you need some sort of coverage for those. So this Pokemon you're seeing on screen right now could be quite a good option. It's why I'm running a Fairy myself, because of course it does kind of wall the fighting types. So yeah, of course I'm running Noctowl, which of course beats the fighting types, and I'm running a Fairy type in the back to protect against any sort of counter users that you might find, and of course even things like Obstagoon. Both of these Pokemon have a very good matchup against it. Now what I decided to do here is go for a chip and dip. Even though I've got a fairy type in the back, I'm running energy ball and flamethrower. If I could do this again, I would probably look to maybe run play rough instead of flamethrower, and just use energy ball as my kind of coverage move against like Galarian Stunfisk, which of course Sandslash can do very well against with drill runs. The opponent is going to fire off a move here, unless this is his last resort, which it is. These moves will be resisted. We're going to look to fire off in good timing here, and we're going for energy ball here because it has the chance for a debuff. The opponent respects it and puts up a shield, and I'm thinking, you know what, at this point I think I'm going to hold onto my shield for Alolan Sandslash. Because of course it has such amazing coverage that I can hit, basically both flyers and ground types. So we're going to come in with Noctowl, get a nasty farm down here, and look to fire off multiple moves on whatever decides to come back in here. The Foul Play will, not really do that much damage to be fair, and we're going to look to see what comes in here. Noctowl is looking a little bit harder in the season. Back in comes Azu. I'm looking to get off this move straight away. I'm not looking to get Ice Beamed or anything here, and the opponent will reach a move. I'm not too sure if I respect this. I do respect the Ice Beam, and I'm going to look to go for a full farm down. I wanted to get a little bit of extra energy there, but the opponent simul swaps, and they've got one of these in the back as well. But here's the thing, guys, we're on the back-to-back already. Number 1 coming through, Drill Run number 2, such an amazing upgrade over Bulldoze. Make sure you guys do TM off Bulldoze. We double Bulldoze that, and the opponent top left, because we're just about to farm them down, so... fantastic games here so far with this Pokemon, apart from me throwing wins by not shielding, but in comes like a pretty bad lead here. A Mud Boy is not what you want to see with this thing, and again we sort of have 2 answers in the back, and that's the nice thing about having Energy Ball on this Pokemon. And of course Noctowl, even though the surfs will add up, it does resist the Mud Shot. We're going to fire off multiple Sky Attacks on this thing. 2 Sky Attacks will look to take this thing out, and the opponent of course will go, look to go for the actually buffed debuff move here, Poison Fang. That does more damage. I'm noticing more damage on that move. Of course, I was facing against this Pokemon in the Catch Cup, and it definitely was not doing that much damage. The opponent does go for a shield here, and I decide, you know what, I can get off one more Sky Attack, so we're going to go on ahead and shield back, and look to fire off a move here. Now, surprisingly here, I'm firing off a Sky Attack, and I'm expecting the double shield farm down. The opponent does not do it, and in comes Medicham. So we do have an answer to Medicham. This one's not fully powered up here, as you can see. We're going to come in with Slurpuff, and this is where I would definitely prefer to have a Fairy-type move. The opponent will fire off an Ice Punch. It does a little bit of a chip and Dar thing here, and we're going to full send the Energy Ball. Ladies and gents, will they respect the Energy Ball here? The opponent will respect it, and we sort of have to stay in here. We have a lot of work to do with this thing. Medicham is just such a big problem for this team. The opponent goes for Sludge. I did not think they were at that energy, and they get to another move. And I'm thinking here, surely this is just another... They're going for another Sludge. I couldn't get over this. The opponent just happens to be running Sludge and Marsh Stomp, which I guess kind of makes sense. There'll be more fairies. And look at Medicham just absolutely run through my poor little Sandslash here. This one Ice Punch here, or it's Para Punch. Look how much that does. I get off an Ice Punch, and you're going to see that this does a lot of damage. But unfortunately, guys, it's not going to be enough. That's done an awful lot of damage, and we just don't have the health on surplus. So that's the problem with this Pokemon. It is super vulnerable to, of course, Medicham. And we get an Excadrill reward, which I think is quite a nice one. Yeah, it's just super vulnerable to counter, and you really have to offer it a lot of protection. But if you do offer it the protection it needs, this thing can absolutely run through the Noctowl Lantern core. And I think this season you're going to see a lot less Noctowl, a lot more Lantern, and of course you will see maybe more ground types and grass types in the meta, which will be looking to counter Lantern. Which again, that could sort of flip it on its head again as the season progresses. We'll start to see more Noctowls again because we'll see more grasses, so it's going to be an interesting season here for sure. And in comes Azumarill. I'm going to look to chip and dip this thing most likely. I'm happy enough to go into Noctowl here probably at some point. Look to catch a Hydro Pump or something. This is probably going to be an Ice Beam. We'll see what the opponent throws here. Super happy to see the player off. It means that they probably don't have Hydro Pump. And in comes Sableye. I decided to full send the Shadow Ball and maybe look to consider farming down. That actually done way less damage than I thought it was going to do. So shout out to the opponent here. They've got a super high rated Sableye. Now, I think I respect the Power Gem here, which would look to take out Noctowl, and I was going to go for the farm down. I was getting a little bit scared, to be honest with you. I think there were 1 or 2 off the Fell Play. The opponent shields it up, and there were 1 off the Fell Play here. Now, I can just shield this up and farm down, and look to get off moves against the Azumarill. Very cool team by the opponent here so far. Of course, Azumarill is pretty boring, but Shadow Sableye is pretty sick, and we're going to look to get off another move here if possible. The opponent does let us get off another move. I believe they might have been at an Ice Beam there, or well, I guess it would have been Play Rough. The opponent is going to look to get off a move on this thing, and at this point I'm super happy with this. I want to get extra farm on Sandslash, and if the opponent lets me get through some Shadow Claws... oh, this game we're actually running Coffagrigus. I was running Coffagrigus for a match, never mind. I wanted to use like a Shadow Claw user for the We actually end up catching here a Shadow Bone on the Sandslash, which is probably pretty unnecessary here, but yeah, I decided to try this out for a match. I didn't really like this team with 2 Shadow Claw users. I definitely prefer having this team with a Fairy in the back. We take that out anyway, and that's going to be a good game to the opponent. And we're going to hop back into the next one. I think we do swap back out to Slurpuff because it just wasn't really working that well here. And now this game we have a really interesting lead. We have Registeel now. Registeel will reach the Zap Cannon here in 15, so it's like 7.5 Shadow Claws basically, right? So we're just going to fire that off immediately. Look to pressure shield straight away. They don't have to go for Zap Cannon though, they just go for Focus Blast here, which they get to in 7. So we're going to farm up a little bit over the Drill Run here, and look to close to CMP the opponent here. Just trying to stay ahead in energy. And look how much these Shadow Claws are adding up on Reggie. We're going to shield this twice here, and we're going to look to fire off another move here. As you're seeing here, we are just absolutely wrecking this thing. We're up to almost back-to-back bulldozes here. The opponent does not even have us into the yellow here. We're like on 75% health, and in comes Rhyperior. Now, I decided to go for the Ice Punch here. I probably should just be going for the Drill Run, but look how much damage that does. I don't want the opponent to like farm me down or anything, so I decided to go ahead and throw the second Ice Punch. I think I should have just thrown the Drill Run. And in comes Darmanitan. Can we reach the Drill Run? We do just about reach it here. I'm not sure if the opponent was ever getting to a move of this thing with Ice Fang. And look at this, it just absolutely one-shots it. So we're just a 3v1ing teams with this thing. Now, of course, it was Darmanitan in the back, but for us to take out Registeel, Rhyperior, and an Ice type in the back with this thing is kind of crazy. Now, we do outpace to the Thunderbolts. I think as a Lantern, you go straight Surf on this thing, but this will look to do a lot of damage. I think it would come close to one-shotting it, not quite though. The opponent does fire off a Surf here, and we're going to look to get off another move. The opponent actually CMPs us there, which is quite interesting, and we'll see how much damage this does. That does a lot of damage. I did want to swap out, of course the opponent does CMP, and I'm happy enough just to preserve my Sandslash. Of course it is featured for this video, so if I can preserve it I definitely will. We're going to see what comes in here, and if it's like a counter user, we have 2 answers in the back, so I'm ready to swap out. In comes Galarian Stunfisk. The opponent could be looking to be just absolutely core broken by this thing. The opponent is shielded up here, and I think I maybe could have considered catching a Rock Slide on Slurpuff or something, but I did kind of want to see how much damage this does. It gets close to doing like 50%. I'm only going to get off an Ice Punch here, and we'll see how much damage this does. That gets the opponent just about and not into the yellow. We're just getting into the yellow now. One Flamethrower will look to take this thing out. Earthquake coming through, we can live that very, very comfortably here. I'm going for an overfarm right here, and the opponent makes a very nice catch onto Gliscor. So what I'm going to do here is fire off this Flamethrower and look to farm up to another Flamethrower, swap into Noctowl, and the only thing this thing can throw against us is Night Slash, which, when it's not the Shadow version, it's not too threatening. Now, I realize the opponent farmed up to 4, I think, so they're one off the Rock Slide. So what I want to do here is probably come out with a move. We're farming up to back-to-back here, basically. I want to have a loaded Shadow Ball, and of course the Sky Attack for this. Yeah, we're on 100 energy. We're going to fire this first move off, which will guarantee the knockout on Gliscor. In comes the Stunfisk. We're going to go straight for the Shadow Ball. We're not messing around and taking any chances here, and it actually doesn't take them out, but we go for the Flamethrower Snipe, and that's going to be a good game to the opponent. So the opponent was just reaching the Rock Slide, and even if they threw it off in Slurpuff, I was going to be able to probably outpace it to a Sky Attack there. Sandslash versus Golbat here, a very, very good matchup for me. The only thing I have to worry about is the Shadow Ball, so I'm going to farm up to 6 here. I'm not sure who wins CMP between these two, because of course Golbat is quite attack weighted as well. We're firing off the Ice Punch, the opponent has to respect it. Now, I was thinking about calling the bait, but I do end up respecting what is a Shadow Ball, which is amazing. We're going to farm up a little bit extra here once again, and the opponent does make a very nice catch on Clefable. Now, I don't really know what my answer is. I guess it would be Noctowl, but I decide I'm going to throw another move here, put a ton of pressure on this thing. Even though resisted charms are adding up on this thing, and we decide just to basically guarantee both shields off the opponent, and look to come in and go for a Sky Attack with Noctowl. Now this thing can know Meteor Mash and Moonblast, which will put a massive chip into Noctowl, so I'm more than happy to get rid of this thing. The opponent comes in with a Swalot. Ladies and gents. We're going to go for Shadow Ball. I wasn't sure like if 2 Sky Attacks would take this thing out. After watching this back, I think 2 Sky Attacks probably would have took out, but I was thinking this thing is quite bulky. They go for the Gunk Shot, and we do get off the Sky Attack. So 1 Shadow Ball and 1 Sky Attack turns out to be the correct thing here, because that's all we were going to be able to get off. I ended up catching this move on this thing, which, you know, it's not great. And we're going to come in with our Slurpuff and look to basically get to the Flamethrower. At this point I'm thinking the opponent is single moved here, but of course we'll respect it anyway. We're going to fire off the Flamethrower, which will take the opponent out. I was expecting the opponent to throw a Poison Jab, which is why I swapped into Sandslash to catch the resisted Poison Jab, or Poison Fang. I always get those two mixed up. But guys, as you're seeing, Alolan Sandslash is just absolutely amazing. We should have been 4-1, 4-1, right? And you can see, like, against Medicham, if you get that lined up, it's so bad. But this Pokemon in the right situations is just absolutely amazing. I highly recommend building it, powering it up. The Shadow is a lot better, but maybe the normal one will be fine as well. But guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll be uploading another video today showcasing some more new Pokemon, so stick around for that. And thank you very much everybody for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day.